Welcome to Bedtime Stories. The Weaving Princess. Once upon a time in the kingdom there lived a beautiful princess. She was daughter of the powerful king. The princess was known far and wide as a wonderful weaver. Whenever she sat at her loom to work, people gathered, for no one had the skill she had, no one could create such magnificent pictures. Everyone called the girl, Weaving Princess. One day a neighbor was admiring one of her beautiful tapestries. He had spotted something nearly hidden amid the images of flowers, birds, and streams. "There's a face," the neighbor said, and the king, fearing to see, now saw what his daughter had woven. There, in the middle of her tapestry, was the face of a handsome young man. "Who's that?" the king asked, but Weaving Princess shrugged and said softly, "I do not know, father. I did not plan to weave a face." The king called together all his advisors. "Who is this man?" the king asked, "and what is the meaning of this tapestry?" The advisors were wise and thoughtful. They knew the meaning of the tapestry. "Your daughter is ready to marry," they told the king. "Ah," the king said, he had not noticed that his daughter was no longer a child. He thought of her as a young girl, but now he understood his daughter had grown to be a young woman. "Yes," he said, "my daughter shall marry. But who is that good man to marry her?" Once again the advisors studied the face in the tapestry, and they knew. "She must marry the young prince who tends the cattle," they said. "He is a fine young man, and," they pointed to the tapestry, "this is his face." Still the king worried. Weaving Princess was, after all, his only daughter, and so he consulted the fortune tellers. "Herd boy is the perfect match for your daughter," the fortune tellers told the king. So he sent for the boy to come to meet his daughter. When Weaving Princess and Herd boy met, they looked into each other's eyes and fell in love. Everyone in the palace could see that they adored each other. Their parents agreed that they would wed. On their wedding day, the king offered his blessing, and all the parents offered their wisdom. "You will be happy together," they said, "so long as you remember that you must tend to your duties. Each of you has a gift, and you must remember to use your gifts for the benefit of the world around you." Weaving Princess and Herd boy were the happiest couple anyone had ever seen. They loved spending their time together. They walked through the fields. They laughed and sang and told each other tales. At first they heeded their parents' advice, but as time went by, Herd boy spent less and less time tending his cattle, and Weaving Princess no longer sat at her loom. The cattle grew ill, the loom grew brittle. Time passed, and the cattle began to die in the fields. People complained about the tapestries they needed that were promised and were never provided on time. And so the king called Herd boy and Weaving Princess to his palace. "You have disobeyed your parents' commands," the king said sternly, "and so from this day on you must live separately." With that he sent Herd boy to the west to tend to his cattle and his daughter to the east where she would weave from dawn to dusk. "Please do not separate us, father," begged Weaving Princess as they parted. Herd boy cried in anguish, "You cannot do this to us. We cannot be apart forever." Their sorrow broke the king's heart, and so he offered them a compromise. "Both of you must obey your parents and do your work. But if you work hard all year, you will be permitted to live together thereafter." As Herd boy and Weaving Princess were parted, they wept bitterly. 1 year passed. They both worked again very hard so that they can meet, and the night they were to meet at last arrived. The night they meet was full of stars in the sky which formed a Milky Way. Ever since that day, the Weaving Princess and the Herd boy realized their mistakes, that they must obey their parents' advice, make the best use of their God gifts to help and support for others' benefit. If you like the story, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you for listening. Good night.